Bury in just a couple of moments. Hope that you are having a very good Friday. We got enough going on, or what? I mean, unbelievable, right? You got the MLB, you've got the NBA, you've got hockey, you've got college and the NFL. You have a little bit of everything. Pretty amazing, huh? Anyway, it's great to have you with us. And we are brought to you by New Works Plumbing of Sacramento. Locally owned for over 20 years, New Works has a fix for you. Just go to sacserviceplumbing.com. That's sacserviceplumbing.com, or call the number on your screen, 916-713-1010. All right. While we wait for Sean, I'm going to open up the chat line. If you want to hit me up with a message, you can do so. Boy, how about the 49ers getting Christian McCaffrey? I mean, if McCaffrey is healthy, along with Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, I still worry about that offensive line a little bit for San Francisco, and I think that is an issue. I think that's a problem. But McCaffrey is a dynamic back, both running the football and catching the ball coming out of the backfield. And if he can remain healthy, that is a big-time addition for the San Francisco 49ers. All right? All right, baseball, we're going to talk with Sean about that as well, as he is based in Houston. And, listen, 30 strikeouts for the Yankees in 2 days. And Aaron Boone is talking about the roof being open. Are you freaking kidding me? Unbelievable. All right? Awful. Benjamin chimes in on the chat line. Let me put that up. And he said the O-line has been better than expected so far. I don't really agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't think they've been terrible, but I don't think I agree with that. All right? All right, here's one that wants to chime in on the trade. Why don't we put this up on the screen? Terrible trade for the 49ers with O-line in giving up their future again. It's a very interesting text. When you have a chance to win a Super Bowl and you feel that you have a Super Bowl caliber defense and you can get a player like Christian McCaffrey, you go out and get him. Other than Philadelphia right now, who's the one team in the NFC that scares you? Nobody, right? So to me, if you're the 49ers and you can go out and get a Christian McCaffrey, then go out and get a Christian McCaffrey. All right? All right. So I am reading a text message from Sean, and he's having technical issues. So unfortunately, he's not going to be able to come on with us. All right. That's okay. I'll do the show myself. We'll talk about the National Football League. We'll talk about the Kings, and we'll talk about college football and Major League Baseball. And we will get back to the text line. All right. The Niners get picks back from the Jets of Miami, so the trade made sense. I'd rather go all in. The NFC is wide open. I'm with you 100% on that. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, here's another one. Grant, can you recall a team in the NFL to have two players that can run and catch like Deebo and Christian? I cannot. Let me just get back to Sean here real quick while I'm doing this. Just making sure that he knows that I got his message. All right. All right. So, again, I can't really. I mean, there have been a lot of dynamic offenses. Marshall Faulk was an incredibly dynamic player, and they had Torrey Holt. They had Isaac Bruce. I mean, think about what Marshall Faulk did for that team. Now, I don't think Christian McCaffrey is good as Marshall Faulk, but he's the same type of dynamic player, okay? So keep that in mind, all right? Here's another text. They better win the Super Bowl this year or they'll be sent back for years. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I don't necessarily agree with that. All right? It's just I don't see how you could say that. I don't think they're going to be set back for years at all. Again, you look at Christian McCaffrey. This is a very interesting text. Christian is not your normal running back. He can play running back. He can play wide receiver, slot receiver. He's a lot like Debo. He is a lot like Debo. Absolutely. He's a multifaceted football player. It's a very good text right there. Multifaceted. The question is, this week's, I understand what I'm going to say here. The game coming up on Sunday against Kansas City, you don't even have to win that game. The point is, you're already 2-0 in your division. You beat Seattle, you beat the Rams, albeit both games at home. So you're still in the driver's seat in that division, even if you lose this week. And the reason why I'm saying that, the Niners are still banged up. I'm still looking at their injury situation, and it's a concern. And I don't think the Chiefs are going to lose 2 games in a row. I mean, they just lost to Buffalo. How often do the Kansas City Chiefs lose 2 games in a row? All right. Here's another text. Grant, do you think the Niners know the window is closing? I don't get this. How's the window closing? Explain that to me, everybody. How's the window closing? Shanahan better win the Super Bowl, or in a few years, he'd be fired and lynched before him trying to be like the Rams and all in. Well, I don't understand you 49er fans. Help me out here. Do you want to win the freaking Super Bowl or not? You have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Go out and win the Super Bowl. Why would you not go out and get a dynamic player like Christian McCaffrey? And, the window is closing. Why do you say the window is closing? Look at their defense. You think their defense is closing? They got a hell of a defense. Deebo Samuel, his window's not closing. I don't see how you can factor that. How do you say the window is closing? I don't agree with you. The window's not closing. And we don't know what's going to happen at the quarterback position after this year. I mean, they still are invested in Trey Lance. You think George Kittle's window's closing? Deebo Samuel's window closing? I mean, help me out here with this, 49er fans. I don't get that. It's a huge, huge deal for the 49ers. Cody says second best running back in the league, huge upgrade for the 49ers. Hell yeah, it's a huge upgrade. All right? And again, here's a, they have no chance to win the Super Bowl. Bills will smash any NFC team, period. Really, Blake? What happens if Josh Allen gets hurt? Blake, you have a crystal ball? You know for sure that Josh Allen's going to stay healthy? How the hell do you know that? Did you think the Giants were going to beat the Patriots when the Patriots were 16-0? Guess what everyone said? No chance the Giants are going to stay on the field with the Patriots. You remember that? What the hell's... And I love the chat line, by the way. I love this stuff, but wake the hell up, would you please? Wake up. Unbelievable. Garrison chimes in. Not all 49er fans are like that, Grant. 49er fans understand why this trade was made. Thank you, Garrison. I would sure hope so. I would sure hope so. By the way, if you're tuning in to see Sean Salisbury, he's got a technical issue, and so he's not going to be able to join us today. So I'm going to carry the show, and we're going to talk about your chat line. We'll talk about baseball. If you want to chime in with the Kings, we can do that as well. But I don't understand a lot of these texts from 49er fans. Windows closing, not going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, you got Christian McCaffrey. You just got Christian McCaffrey, okay? You didn't just get a back. You got a dynamic back, okay? You got a dynamic running back in the National Football League. Crazy. All right, here's another one. Injuries, Grant. The 49ers are the most injury-prone team in the NFL. You wake the hell up. Hey, Blake, you need to wake the hell up, okay? Do you know that football is a contact sport? Have you watched the National Football League? Do you watch games every week? Do you see teams that don't have injuries week to week? All teams have injuries, okay? This injury-prone team that you're talking about, was in the NFC Championship game last year. Is that the same injury-prone team that you're talking about? Here's the other deal. Do you know that they are tied for first place in their division, that injury-prone football team? Or are you not aware of that? Are you also aware that they just got one of the most dynamic offensive players in the National Football League? I mean, I wake the hell up. You're delusional, Blake. You're delusional. Okay? Most injury-plagued teams in the NFL. They have injuries, yeah. All teams have injuries. All teams have injuries. All right. Thank you very much. All lives do matter. You're damn right they do. All lives matter. Every single one. I would agree with that. All right. Here's someone that says, GP would love to be in the Niners position. Sincerely, Raider fan. Good grief. Boy, no kidding. No kidding. Absolutely spot on. Spot on. All right, I want to give you a couple of thoughts. And I did a rant on this today. The Yankees, and I've talked to Sean Salisbury about this for months. The Yankees struck out 30 times. 30 times in 2 games. And Aaron Boone, after the game last night, is talking about the roof being open and it killed Judge on his fly ball in the 8th. Really? Your team just embarrassed themselves in 2 games at the plate. 30 strikeouts, which is how the Yankees play. And unfortunately, it's how a lot of the teams play now, which is why I think baseball is in dire straits. I have trouble watching it. I'm a big Yankee fan. I watched a handful of games this year. I can't watch it. It's terrible. You know who does put the ball in play? The team that's going to the World Series in the American League, the Houston Astros. They put the ball in play. They don't strike out that much. They make contact. They put pressure on your defense. They move runners 90 feet. That team puts the ball in play. Unbelievable. Seriously. I mean, I don't get it. I really don't. All right, again, chat line is open. We'll go in that route. Glad to have you with us. All lives matter. You damn right. I don't know why anyone would think that all lives don't matter. Every single one. All right. Someone said the Astros won yesterday off 1 home run. That's exactly right. But you know what? They get on base. They put the ball in play. And when you put the ball in play, you put pressure on the defense. You put pressure on the defense. All right? Little NBA. Chat line. What happens if the Kings miss the playoffs again? Monte McNair won't get a new deal in all likelihood. He'll lose his job. Kings have the Clippers tomorrow at home, a winnable game. I didn't think the Clippers looked that good last night against the Lakers. Then at Golden State on Sunday, home Memphis, home Miami. You got to figure out a way to win at least 2 of those games. Doesn't really matter which combination. All right? Go out and win at least 2 of those games. If you hit the road 2 and 3, you've salvaged a very difficult start to the season. I know it's absurd to say this in October. Tomorrow's game's pretty important for Sacramento because then they got a back-to-back. The Warriors play tonight against Denver. You have a back-to-back, all right? You have the Warriors on Sunday. Now, I'm not saying that you can't beat the Warriors, but I'm being realistic, all right? I'm being realistic. All right, back to the chat line. 49ers are poised now to win a couple of Super Bowls. Also, Kyle has known Christian since he was a kid. Father Ed played for Father Mike. Both families remain close. That's very true. That doesn't mean anything to me. You know, families, relationships, that has no bearing on what's going to happen on the field. You're right, and I understand the point you're trying to make. Christian McCaffrey's a damn good football player. And if he can stay healthy, can you imagine game planning for San Francisco right now? Who are you going to game plan for? McCaffrey? Samuel? Kittle? How are you going to defend that team? All right? How are you going to defend that team? I mean, I don't see how it's going to happen. I totally agree with you on that, Grant. Tomorrow's game is definitely important for the Kings. Thank you for the message. I mean, they're all important, but they just blew a game on opening night. All right. Just Win said the quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, his job just got a lot easier. You think? Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. All right, again, hit me up on the chat line. We'll have the show that way for a little while. A lot of 49ers questions, so we'll stay on that. Do I think Lance is the future for the Niners? I do. I mean, he is by default. Do I think he is the answer? No, I don't. Do I think at 2 years from now, he'll be the starting quarterback for the 49ers? I don't. I'm not sold on anything that I've seen from Trey Lance. I'm just not. All right, a lot of messages about the Kings, too. Someone said if De'Aaron Fox can average 10 assists per game, will that be part of a recipe of success for the Kings? Yes, but I don't think he's going to average 10 assists a game. The other thing is he can't have 8 turnovers like he had on opening night against the Portland Trailblazers. Can't do it. I mean, he was a freaking turnover machine, right? Can't do it. Plain and simple. Can't do it. Can't have 8 turnovers. Here's the other thing. And again, I know De'Aaron, for all intents and purposes, had a really good game on opening night. But he didn't score in basically the final 5 minutes of the game. I want to see the point guard get to the foul line in a tied game with 5 minutes left. I want to see my point guard score in the final 5 minutes with the game tied. Didn't happen. And so, again, I'm nitpicking a little bit because he, had a really good game, as did Kevin Huerter. But that's got to be a little bit of a concern. I mean, the guy's in his 6th year, and the game's on the line, and he can't score. You tell me. Can't score. So I look at that as a little bit of an issue. Again, the Clippers tomorrow, and then the Golden State Warriors on Sunday. All right? Oh, boy. That's exactly right, David. Oh, boy. Thank you. You're darn right, oh, boy. So tomorrow, Sunday, and then we got the NFL on Sunday. All right. If you're a fan of the Raiders, you are 1-4. You have had a bye week. You're at home against the lowly Houston Texans. No excuses. You better go out and win a game and win it comfortably. Get a little momentum, start feeling good about your football team. So you got the Raiders at home after the bye week against Houston. Then you have Green Bay, who looks lost, going to Washington. Okay? Going to Washington. What the hell is wrong with the Packers? Their defense doesn't look good. They can't stop the run. Offensively, they can't have sustained drives like we're accustomed to seeing. Think about this. In the last 2 games, they didn't score in the second half against the Giants. They got blown out by the Jets in Lambeau, and they really did. They got manhandled by the Jets. Shouldn't say they got blown out, but they got manhandled. And now they're going to Washington. All right? Absolutely. All right, David chiming in. We love and miss you in Sac Grant. Thanks, David. I appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Really appreciate everyone's support. It's been quite a ride the last 2 years. All right? Been a really interesting 2 years. But, you move on and you persevere and you do different things. And so I am just trying to make the best of it. I love talking with everybody here on YouTube and on my Listen App show, which is, by the way, coming up right after this show. Hey, if you're just joining us, Sean has got some technical issues today. So he will 100% be with us on Monday, unless the Astros are playing at 3 o'clock Pacific. That's the one issue that Sean has because he's on the flagship station of the Houston Astros. Here's a good question. Very good question. Grant, what's your favorite Kings memory? Dominic, I mean, I did the games for 32 years. So I don't know if I can have one memory that stands out above the rest. The 96 playoffs, the first playoff game at Arco Arena, when the Kings hosted Seattle, that was an amazing evening that I will never forget. All right. And that sticks out to me. And then another memory that was not a good memory because it was about 20 minutes after Robert Ory hit the shot in game 4. And I was announcing that game on the radio by myself. And the Kings had won game 3, played great. And game 4 is the Robert Ory shot. And you want to talk about a dagger. That was a dagger. That was maybe one of the worst feelings I've ever had in 32 years of announcing Sacramento Kings basketball. So I do the post-game show, and you just feel like you went 15 rounds with Muhammad Ali or something. And I just cannot even begin to explain what it was like being at the Staples Center for games 3 and 4 when the Kings played so well for almost 8 quarters. And they lose on the Ory shot. And about 20 minutes after the game, I walk into the Kings locker room. And Vlade Divac comes right up to me and says, "We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine." I told the guys to get their heads up. Guys all had their heads down in air. I said, "Don't worry about it. We're going back. We're winning game 5. And I was just thinking to myself, wow. Here's the guy that batted the ball away from the basket, and it ends up in the hands of Ory. And he makes the shot, and he's the most positive guy going into the locker room. And he said, "I told the guys, don't worry, we're going back. We're winning game 5. And he went back and won game 5 on the Mike Bibby shot. And I was just thinking, wow. I was just like, wow. That memory is ingrained in my head. And it truly is something I will never forget. So my greatest memories, the last game at Arco and everything that we as a fan base and community had accomplished by keeping the team there, that was a great memory. I really, really, that will always stick out in my head. And then being at a downtown restaurant on the day of the vote, when the NBA Board of Governors officially voted to keep the Kings in Sacramento and not move them to Seattle, that was a huge celebration downtown. And I was doing my radio show live when that happened, and the place was packed, and we just had a ball. We have had an incredible time. Dominic says, "Thanks so much, Grant. I'm only 21. I've never seen the Kings in the playoffs. Would you come out to see a playoff game if they make it? Would be awesome." Not right now, I wouldn't. Not right now. I appreciate it, but I don't see myself going back to the Golden One Center. All right? I don't. Who knows? Things change. Grant, I've noticed more new faces on your Listen App show. This show on YouTube is awesome. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I had 2 amazing shows with Jerry Reynolds the last 2 Wednesdays, and Jerry will be on with me again on Wednesday, but I'm having a lot of fun doing this YouTube live show. And what I'm going to do, and I would love to, while we have the people on the chat line, let me know how you think about this, how you feel about this. I'm thinking the other night I did a post-game show on Listen App, and it was great. We had a great response. So I think after tomorrow, I will do a show again on Listen App. And then I'm thinking of maybe doing a post-game show right here. Not tomorrow, but in the next game or 2. And we can do a show just like this. You fire away questions on the chat line, because I know not everybody can call, and I know not everybody is comfortable calling on Listen App. I get that. Some people just don't feel comfortable. They feel like they got the whole world listening to them, and I understand that. Some people get a little intimidated, some don't, but if you are one of those, I get it. So I would like to try a post-game show here on YouTube. We'll do it next week for a game. All right? and see how that works. We'll see what the response is. And then what I'd like to do is on No Filter Network, which I've done a lot of shows on, it's interactive. So you can come on with me and we can have a roundtable and have a Kings watch party. So we'll all be watching the game. Now, it might not all be in sync because maybe the area that you're in and the area that I'm in, we're watching on different platforms, and maybe we're off by a few seconds. But the point is, you all can come on with me. I can put on as many people as I want on the screen, and we can have a watch party roundtable, and we can comment on the game as it's going. So I would love to do that on No Filter Network. We'll pick out a game. Maybe, and again, I'm just saying maybe I'll pick out the game that's going to be on TNT next month in a couple of weeks, right? And that way, if you're not in Sacramento, you're in Florida, you're in New York, wherever the case you are, wherever the case may be where you are, we can all watch the game and we can be on No Filter Network. And maybe I don't do all 4 quarters. Maybe we'll watch the first half on our own. And then at halftime, I'll come on the stream on No Filter Network, and then we'll watch the second half together. Because it might be too much to have a 2.5-hour roundtable. So I think that would be fun. What do you think? Want to do that? Garrison says, I remember the game TNT announcer said the best atmosphere they have ever seen. I would agree with that. It was the best atmosphere. No question. David says that would be awesome. All right, we're going to try to do that. All right? We're going to try to do that. Getting a lot of good, positive chats. People love the interactiveness. I agree. So let's do that. So tomorrow after the Clippers game, I will do my post-game show on Listen app, and then we'll pick a game in the very near future. I'll do a post-game here on YouTube Live, and then we'll maybe on that TNT game, all right, we will have a roundtable on No Filter Network. You're on board, Donald? I appreciate that, buddy. I appreciate that. All right? I appreciate that very much. Let's see what John has to say. Or no, Cowbell City. Yes, Manny, thank you very much. Now let's get to John. Well, actually, I hit the wrong one again. I remember that game against Seattle. TNT announcer said it was the most amazing thing they've ever experienced. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. John, I promise you I'm going to get you up here. That would be a fantastic idea, Grant. I can't wait. All right, we'll do it. All right? That's great. I'm getting so many messages on the chat line that I'm having trouble keeping up with everyone. All right? Love the support. You all make me feel great. Good to see you, Grant. Kings are dead to me since you left. Well, I don't know about that. All right? I don't know about that. Sounds good, Grant. Good. We'll do it. You know, it's all good. This is great. Wish you could do a show like Peyton and Eli do for a Kings game. I wish I could too, just when I don't have the rights to the Kings game. They are on ESPN, so they can actually show the game live. All right. I'm not allowed to show the game live. So I don't think so. I wish I could. Grant, add that super chat feature. Blake, explain to me what a super chat feature is. I don't know what that is. What's a super chat feature? Again, I'm an idiot. All right. I'm a technological moron. I don't know what super chat is. I barely know what chat is. All right. So, Blake, you have to help me out. All right. You have to hold my hand on what is a super chat. I'll get there. I'll get there. Some of my other favorite Kings memories, though, people always ask. I think probably the fans. And I always used to make, I'm not bragging, I always used to make time for the fans before the game, after the game. And I always used to make a habit of staying in my broadcast position because fans would come down, they'd want to take pictures and they'd want to say hi. And so I used to love meeting all the different fans. And that was the best part of my job. That's why I love doing my radio show for 26 years. So that was the thing that I missed the most. I miss the interaction with the fans the most. That's why I love doing shows like this and listen at. So absolutely. Donald says super chats are when the chatters can donate to your channel. I'll look at that, Donald. Thank you very much. I've actually seen that on a couple of shows. I follow the. I know you think this is crazy, probably, but I love aviation. And sometimes when I'm bored, I'll go to LAX Live or some of the other airports around the world and watch in live time planes landing and taking off. And I saw that Larry Kruger, who I'm a fan of, and on his YouTube channel, he has that super chat as well. So I'll add that. All right. I'll add that. We'll get that down. But anyway, back to the fans. The fans are what I miss the most. I always have people ask me, what do you miss the most about your job? I miss the fans. I used to love talking to the fans at the games, before the games and after the games. And I would always just be amazed at the loyalty of that fan base with all of those bad teams. And that is a void that I still have. And that's why I enjoy doing Listen App. I just started this a couple of weeks ago. Being able to communicate with you, that's what I like the most about my job. I like all sports. I've blocked the NBA, will not watch it anymore. It's been a couple of years. I'm an aviation geek also. I got to tell you, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, I don't watch the NBA anymore. But I know this and you know this. If the Kings get good again, the place will be packed. All right? They'll be packed. All right? It will be packed. I have Dish, says Garrison. They don't offer NBC Bay Area because of contract negotiations. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that. I have not watched the Kings telecast since I left. So you won't ever see NBC Sports California ever again on my television. That will never happen. Not happening. All right? It's not happening. Grant, I feel the Cardinals offense looked better. Amazing how valuable DeAndre Hopkins is to Kyler's success. Cody, 100% correct. I should have mentioned that off the top. 100% correct. Just Win says, I come here for all my Kings news. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And your support and everyone's support does mean the world. Grant, anything you do, I'm on board for. Garrison, I appreciate that. I see you very active on my YouTube page with the comments that you make, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. I'm getting a lot of good questions here. Really am. Grant, the Kings player turned out to be great that you personally did not think would make it. Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah was tremendous. All right. Think about that. Last player taken in the draft. You know what? I remember the Kings playing the Cavaliers in Isaiah Thomas's rookie season. And Isaiah outplayed Kyrie Irving in that game. And I remember in my animated way that, number 60 looks like number 1, and number 1 looks like number 60. Oh, boy. Isaiah Thomas dominated Kyrie Irving in that game. Dominated him. Okay? Dominated him. That I will never forget. So that's a great question, Dominic. Great question. And I will just say that Isaiah Thomas would be that guy. All right? I would. David asked, do I miss the Sacramento area? Yeah, but I go back quite often to Sacramento, and I will continue to do so. Sacramento is always going to be my home. I lived there for 34 years. So, it's not like I left Sacramento and I'm never coming back. I'm in Sacramento more often than you think. And I'll be there again in a few weeks. And who knows? I might move back there someday. It was just time to get out of town for a while. You know, I love Sacramento. It's home to me. When people today, if I meet somebody in Florida and they go, "Where are you from?" I go, "Sacramento." I don't say I'm from New York. I say I'm from Sacramento. I mean, I lived there over half my life. Sacramento's home to me. Sacramento will always be home to me. And I could see myself living back in Sacramento again. There's a lot of great things about Sacramento. Now, I'm kind of down on California right now for obvious reasons. I think I speak for a lot of people. I got to tell you, I was just in Sacramento a few weeks ago, and being in downtown Sacramento was embarrassing. It's embarrassing. The mayor should be embarrassed of the way Sacramento is. I'm sorry, but the mayor, the awful, absolutely awful. I was down there twice in a span of 3 days. Parked my car on J Street, not too far from the arena, in the middle of the afternoon, and walking around was horrifying. Horrifying. Awful. Terrible. I would never go to downtown Sacramento right now. That's terrible. I mean, what a shame. You got beautiful Doco. They did a hell of a job there in the surrounding area, and it's you don't even want to walk down the streets. Awful. Don't get me going on gas prices and the taxes and everything else. So there are a lot of things I do not miss about California. But I miss the people of Sacramento. And when I had my charity event there 5 weeks ago out at Bennett's Roseville, it was just the people of Sacramento are great. So you keep on asking me, I'm going to keep on answering. The people are what I miss the most. All right. Found you, Grant. Miss you. Miss the games. Miss the radio show and miss the rants. Not the same without you. Hey, I really appreciate that. I still do my rants every day. All right. You can go to, I'll put it right up here for you. All right. I'm going to put it right up here for you. If you don't like that.com, that's my website. All of my work is on there. So you want to check out my rants, you want to check out my podcast, go to ifyoudon'tlikethat.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at Grant Napier Show. And if you have not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do so. It would mean a lot to me. Hit that subscribe button. And that way you'll always know when I'm going to be coming on, because I'm going to be doing some impromptu shows as well. I wanted to spend a couple moments before we wrap up today's show. I want to talk about today's podcast. I and everyone else in the NBA community, we received some really bad news yesterday with the passing of NBA referee Tony Brown. And I got to know Tony pretty well the last couple of years. And Tony lost his battle with pancreatic cancer. And I've been texting Tony on a fairly regular basis to let him know I was thinking of him, praying for him. And he would always get back to me. And he actually ended up going back to work last spring for the NBA playoffs in the replay center. And he got involved with Summer League this summer. And we all know pancreatic cancer is so hard to beat. It's such a vicious, cruel cancer. And we all thought that Tony might be that small percentage that would beat this awful, awful cancer. And the joy that Tony had in his text messages to me about going back to work, I shared on my podcast today. I read some of the text messages, and I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but due to my profession, I've met a lot of officials in all four sports. I had a very good friend that was an NHL referee all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. I've gotten to know Mike Pereira very, very well. One of my best friends is a baseball umpire, And I've met a lot of other MLB umpires through him that I'm very friendly with and have become friends. And we meet up when they're in Miami or wherever I'm on the road if they're umpiring, and I always go and see them. And then I've gotten to be very close with a lot of NBA referees. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that officials don't care. And I will tell you that I've had many conversations with officials that when they make bad calls, it eats at them. They have trouble eating, they can't sleep, and it eats at them. And the officials that I've talked with, they like replay because they don't ever want to cost a team a game because of their mistake. And if replay can correct a mistake that they made, they love that. You know, a lot of people think the officials don't like replay because it shows them up. No. Not true. Not true at all. They want replay. They want replay because they don't want a team to lose on a bad call. And on my podcast today, I talked about Tony, and I talked about how fans need to understand that they're human beings just like you and I, and they're not perfect. Why do we expect our sports officials to be perfect when we're not perfect? Why? Are your athletes that play the sports that you watch perfect? No, they miss free throws, they miss layups, they miss shots, they strike out, they drop pop-ups, they throw interceptions, they fumble the football, they miss open nets. Why do we expect our officials to be perfect when we're not perfect? I've never understood that. And listen, I get pissed at officials too. Don't get me wrong. You know, when a bad call goes against the Giants, I get very upset. But I don't get personal with the refs and hope that they, you know, have a bad fate or something happens to their family member. Or, I mean, their fans are sick. And I think gambling probably has something to do with that. But I wanted to spend some time today talking about Tony Brown. Tony was a great man. I'll share a story. Years ago, it was in October, and we were on the road somewhere. I don't remember where. And I said, "Where do you go from here?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm going home." I goes, "I'm so happy I get to go trick-or-treating with my kids." He goes, "I have Halloween off." I'm like, "Tony, that is freaking awesome, man." He's got 3 kids. They're all grown now. And I was like, you know, that's great. I was like genuinely happy for him because he had the biggest smile on his face. And he was getting ready to go home. And he was going to be able to go trick-or-treating with his kids. And I just thought, man, that's where it's at right there. That's awesome. And most of these officials, you know, they have families. And I'm a couple of the officials I've gotten very tight with that work in the NBA finals every year. You know, they've got young families. And I'm just like, man, that is awesome. And we talk about their kids. But just remember that officials are human beings. They're not perfect. They don't claim to be perfect. They try to be. I'm not perfect. You know, people ask me about 32 years in some of my favorite games. Do you know that I've never, ever called a perfect game? And by that, I mean, I've never gotten off the air and said, man, you didn't make any mistakes. You were 100% perfect. I've gotten off the air and I'm like, man, I know I killed it. I know I had a great call. I know that I hit the most important part of the game. But I've never, ever wrapped up a game and said, man, that was perfect. I've been close a couple of times. I thought maybe the best game I've ever called was at Chicago when the Kings were down 35, Tyreek Evans, and the Kings came back. And then a playoff game I did on radio. I thought the games I did on radio in LA in the 2002 Western Conference Finals, I graded myself very high on that. And then another game that I thought I hit it out of the park was a playoff game in Dallas. And you can actually watch the highlights that Dave Grashoff put together of me doing the radio play-by-play. It's really fun. I think it's like, it's DG calls or something. You can Google Grant Napier's best games and it's DG something. And it's my radio call, not the whole game, but he put highlights together. And that was one of my favorite games. But back to Tony Brown. He loved what he did. 55 years of age, and he's gone. And I won't ever forget the guy. What a great man. The heck with whether he was a good referee or not, he was. In 2020, he had ascended to work the NBA Finals. But I, for one, am going to miss that man. And prayers to his wife and his family and his loved ones and to all of his NBA colleagues, because Tony was the real deal. And my life was better over the last year and a half communicating with him. And I've always said this, you don't realize when you're going through a really rough time what a simple message can mean. Hey, I'm thinking about you, man. Hang in there. When you're going through a really tough time and somebody just spontaneously reaches out, because that happened to me, and I know it's happened to a lot of other people when they're facing difficult situations, it really means the world to that individual. So keep that in mind. All right, let's get to some more messages. Grant, your number one, won't watch King's broadcast, but I noticed that Kevin Calabro's call is very good. A lot of energy, very, very professional. Kevin's great. He's one of the best. Kevin's done the Olympics. He's done the NBA Finals on ESPN Radio. I would agree with that. All right? I would agree with that. Here's another one. Grant, the difference between your YouTube channel and Cage to K is here you can curse and cuss. Fucking A. I agree with that. I can. Not too much, though. All right. So, Listen App coming up in about 10 minutes. I'll be on Listen App tomorrow after the Kings game, so we can have a post-game show. And then I'll see about Sunday. I don't know about Sunday yet, but I'm also going to do a post-game show coming up as well on YouTube. All right? So, hey, I really appreciate your support. Sean will be back with me on Monday. Don't worry about it. All right? And I really, really appreciate all of your support and all of the chats. Appreciate your stream. Now here, but would love to know your streaming schedule. Just follow me, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. You'll get everything. But I'm going to be on this channel every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 o'clock. Wednesday with Jerry Reynolds, Monday and Friday with Sean Salisbury. I'll be adding some other guests. We'll have some other shows. And so just keep following me, all right? Just keep following me. Social media, all right? I put all my links up there. All right, here's my website, ifyoudon'tlikethat.com. So just go to my website, and then I put all of my links for my live shows right here on Twitter at Grant Napier Show and on my Facebook page. So it's all there for you, all right? It's all there. I appreciate your support. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope that you have a great weekend, and I'm getting ready for Listen App in a couple of minutes. So be well. Enjoy all the sports this weekend. And don't forget, tomorrow after Kings basketball, I'll be on Listen App. Take care. Thank you so much for joining me right here. If you don't like that, with Grant Napier. So long, everybody.